What if the moment you almost gave up was the moment you were one step away from everything? Not 2 steps, not 10. 1. What if the exact point where you decided it was too hard, too long, too painful, too impossible was the precise moment the door was about to open? I need you to stay with me today, because I am going to tell you a story about a man who almost didn't. A man who stood at the very edge of quitting and chose, for no logical reason other than something burning quietly in his chest, to try one last time. And that one last try changed everything. His name was Aaron, 31 years old, a writer, or at least he used to believe he was. For 6 years, Aaron had been working on the same dream. 6 years of early mornings and late nights. 6 years of writing, revising, submitting, waiting, and being told no. 6 years of rejection letters that were polite enough to read but painful enough to keep. He had submitted his manuscript to 47 publishers. 47. And every single one had said no. Some said it kindly. Some said it with form letters that made it clear nobody had actually read past the first page. This one stayed with Aaron longer than he wanted to admit, wrote back and said the work showed promise, but the author lacked the authentic voice necessary for the market. Lacked the authentic voice. Aaron had read that line so many times it had become a wound he kept reopening. He had a day job that paid the bills but drained his soul. He had friends who had quietly stopped asking about the book because the updates were always the same. He had a small apartment with a desk by the window where he had spent thousands of hours building something he was beginning to believe existed only for him. Something no one else would ever read or care about or be moved by. And on a Tuesday night in November, sitting at that desk by the window with the 47th rejection letter open on his screen, Aaron did something he had never done before in 6 years. He closed the laptop, pushed back from the desk, and said out loud to nobody, to the empty apartment, to the dream that had cost him more than he could calculate, "I am done." He meant it. For 3 weeks he meant it completely. He did not open the manuscript, did not think about submitting, did not let himself imagine the version of his life where the book existed in the world and someone somewhere read it and felt less alone. He just stopped. And the strange thing was it felt like relief. For about 4 days it genuinely felt like relief. Like putting down a weight he had been carrying so long he had forgotten what it felt like to stand without it. But on the 5th day something shifted. It was small, almost nothing. He was on the subway heading to work, standing in the crowded car, headphones in, when an old man across from him, completely unremarkable, someone Aaron would never have noticed on any other day, pulled a book from his coat pocket. A worn, clearly loved, many times read paperback. And the old man opened it, found his page, and began to read. And within 30 seconds Aaron watched something happen to that man's face that he had not seen in weeks. Peace. Not the dull peace of distraction, but the deep, specific peace of someone who has found something true on a page. The peace of a person who is, for those minutes on that subway car, less alone in the world because of words someone else chose to write down. Aaron watched him for the entire ride. And somewhere in his chest, quietly, stubbornly, unreasonably, something reignited. He went home that night and sat at the desk by the window for a long time without opening the laptop. He thought about the 47 no's. And then he thought about something his mother had told him when he was 9 years old. He had been trying to learn to ride a bike, had fallen 7 times, was crying on the sidewalk ready to walk away from the bike forever. And his mother had sat down beside him on the curb, not standing over him, beside him, and said something he had carried without fully realizing it for 22 years. Aaron, every time you fall, you learn exactly one more thing about how not to fall, which means every fall is making the next try smarter than the last one. You are not failing. You are learning to fly. He had gotten on the bike and ridden it on the 8th try. He opened the laptop. He opened the manuscript. And he read it not as a writer desperate for validation but as a reader, as the old man on the subway, as someone who just wanted to find something true on the page. And somewhere around page 40 he started to cry. Not because it was bad. Because it was real. It was true. It was the most honest thing he had ever made. And somewhere in 3 weeks of walking away from it he had lost the ability to see it clearly. He had let 47 other people's opinions sit between him and his own work until he could no longer find himself in it. He stayed up until 3 in the morning. He revised. Not because someone told him to, but because he finally saw with fresh eyes what the book needed and what it already was. He submitted to one more publisher. Number 48. Not because he was confident. Not because he had a sign or a strategy or a logical reason to believe this time would be different. But because of an old man on a subway reading a worn paperback with peace on his face. Because of a mother sitting on a curb instead of standing over him. Because of something in his chest that refused, despite everything, to fully go out. He submitted it at 3:47 in the morning, closed the laptop, and whispered to himself the only words that felt honest in that moment. One last try, no matter what. 11 weeks later he got a call. Not an email. A call. A publisher. A real one. Someone who had read the manuscript twice. Who said the words that Aaron had spent 6 years writing toward without knowing it. This book made me feel less alone, and I think it will do the same for a lot of people. The book was published 8 months later. It was not an overnight sensation. It did not immediately top any lists or change Aaron's life in a single dramatic moment. But it found its readers. One by one, quietly, the way real things do. Letters started arriving. Messages from strangers who said they had read it in one sitting. Who said they had given it to someone going through something hard. Who said they had found something true on the page when they needed it most. And Aaron, sitting at the same desk by the same window, read every single one. I am telling you Aaron's story today because I know that some of you are sitting at your 47th rejection right now. Your 47th no. Your 47th closed door. Failed attempt. Disappointing result. Moment of looking at the gap between where you are and where you know you are supposed to be and feeling the weight of 6 years, or 3 years, or 10 years pressing down on you until the only word left feels like done. I am not going to tell you it will be easy. I am not going to tell you the next try will be the one that changes everything. But I am going to tell you what I know to be true. You do not know which try is the last try before the breakthrough. You cannot see it from where you are standing. Neither could Aaron. Neither could anyone who ever built something real from nothing. The 48th submission looked exactly like the 47th from the outside. The same words. The same envelope. The same leap into the same silence. The only difference was that Aaron made it. And the old man on the subway never knew, will never know, that his quiet moment of reading a worn paperback on a Tuesday morning gave a broken writer the last push he needed to change both of their lives. That is how thin the margin is. That is how close you might be right now. So before you close the laptop, before